Very good morning to one and all. Today we can discuss about the Gandhian methods of struggle that he has initiated both in South Africa as well as India. This area is very useful for the students of degree classes and as well as PG classes of history. Gandhi was the father of our nation. He was the Bapuji to our children. He was a half-naked fakir, according to Valentine Shiro. He was Mahatma, which has been conveniently put forward by Rabindranath Tagore. That epithet. He was the little Milky Mouse of India, according to Sarojini Naidu. Gandhi, the father of our nation, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, he was of course very instrumental in the attainment of freedom for the Indians. He was of course a message for the Indians. He was a courage for the Indians. He was a role model for the Indians. He was a savior for the Indians. He has experienced different types of struggles for the sake of Indians, for the benefit of Indians, for making the movement of Indians both in South Africa and as well as India a very successful movement. To start with, he has done the struggles for the Indians in South Africa. It was very accidental that Gandhi has gone to South Africa as part of pleading a case for the Dada Abdullah Company, a company owned by a Gujarati merchant by name Dada Abdullah. That company came into collision with another company of South Africa. Gandhi, who has been practicing at Gujarat at Kathiawar court during that time, has got the invitation to plead for the case of Dada Abdullah Company at South Africa. When he reached South Africa, he has experienced the bitter experiences that Indians were, of course, experiencing in South Africa. He saw with his naked eyes the cruelty of racial discrimination to which the Indians were subjected. So, even though he came to South Africa for pleading the case of Dada Abdullah Company, he realized that his mission was not simply to plead the case of this company, but also to lead the struggle of the people of South Africa, a struggle of Indians in South Africa who were subjected to so many miseries and as well as discriminations. During that time, Indians were not accepted to reach in the Transvaal area of South Africa. During that time, all Indian marriages in South Africa was declared null and void. And during that time, all Indians were given an ultimatum by the South African government that they have to give a certificate to the South African government accepting the rules and regulations of that government, and this certificate must carry their own thumb impressions. Gandhi called these acts as black acts. He realized that it is the pertinent time to start a struggle of Indians in South Africa. For this purpose, he started an organization called the Natal Indian Congress. He started two important Satyagraha ashrams in South Africa, one Phoenix Ashram and as another one Tolstoy Farm. And through the continuous struggles, he was ably supported by all the Indians in South Africa, that they could win victory against the misrule of the South African government. And the government was forced to give the concessions to the Indians and thereby appointed a committee in which Gandhi also was included as a member, and on the recommendations of this committee, the Indian Free Act was passed by the South African government, and all the discriminations so far experienced by the South African Indians were of course waived by the South African government. So Gandhian interference was of course a perfect success in South Africa. Before returning to India, Gandhi has addressed the Indians at a place called in a huge gathering, which was of course organized by the Indians in South Africa at Johannesburg. In this gathering, before this starting to India, while addressing these Indians, Gandhi has for the first time explained the struggles, the murderous struggles that he has experimented in South Africa. While introducing Gandhi to the audience, a person by name Hoskin, a sympathizer of Gandhi, mentioned that the method of struggle that Gandhi has adopted in South Africa was passive resistance. Gandhi, in his reply speech, he disagreed with this argument and explained that the method of struggle that he has experienced in South Africa was not passive resistance, but it was Satyagraha. Gandhiji very clearly stated that in the beginning he was in a dilemma. What name that he should give to the method that he has experienced in South Africa, method of struggle that he has experimented in South Africa. And he stated that he has conducted a competition through his publication Indian Opinion, and through which he declared that a person who will propose a very convenient name to the method that he has been experimenting in South Africa, and such a kind of entry would be given rewards. So many entries came, and one entry which has been given by his own cousin Makhanlal Gandhi was acceptable to Gandhi, and that name was Satyagraha. Gandhi made some slight variations to this, modifications to this title, and he declared that he wanted to take a name Satyagraha. Satyagraha means Satya Agraha, a person who desires truths. This is faithful obstinacy. This is of course a technique by which a person who desires truths, a person who longs for truths, such a person can be called as a Satyagrahi. Gandhi at Johannesburg in the public meeting, he declared that Satyagraha is not the weapon of a weak, but Satyagraha is the weapon of a courageous person. Satyagraha needs inner strength. It needs moral force. It needs perseverance. It needs more courage, more patience, more sacrificing this tendency, and as different from passive resistor, who is a weak person. Satyagrahi do not be a weak person. Love of the enemy is the core of the Satyagraha. According to Gandhi, a Satyagrahi will not use force against his enemy even during the convenient circumstances, favorable circumstances. So, love of the enemy is the core of Satyagraha according to Gandhi. He claimed that it was not the continuous struggles that he and his people who was done in South Africa which gave them victory, but quiet sufferings. sufferings through Satyagraha methods. And he stated that if the suffering is so quiet and if the suffering is so powerful, the Satyagraha can make the heart of a stone into water. That was the argument of Gandhi. He has done. He has made it clear in South Africa during the time of his addressing the audience. So that was the first important method he has experienced in South Africa. That method which he experienced not only in South Africa alone, but also in India after reaching India during the time of the famous Champaran Satyagraha, during the time of the Kheda struggle, during the time of Ahmedabad Millionaire struggle, during the time of the Rowlatt Act, and against the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, during the time of the non-cooperation movement, during the time of the civil disobedience movement, at the time of Quit India movement, at every struggle that he has of course done in India and South Africa, he has of course experimented this struggle known as Satyagraha. Another important method of struggle that he has experimented in India and South Africa was of course non-violence or ahimsa. Almost all the struggles which he has experimented was based on non-violence or ahimsa. That principle was the part and parcel of Indian cultural ethos. And he has of course Gandhi has of course influenced by the principles of ahimsa and non-violence, which was the principle which was inherent in indigenous religions like Jainism, Buddhism, Charvaka philosophy, or Ajivika philosophy, or other Hinduism, or all indigenous religions. He was a person who was born in a Beniya Vaishnava family, and he had of course his firm belief in this ahimsa or non-violence philosophies. It was through this ahimsa philosophy that he has done his struggles in India. And he thought that if we make a comparison between the mighty British government, their power with that of the power which was there for the Indians during that time, there is no comparison at all. Because militarily speaking, or of course based on the power, prestige, everything, Indians are not a match to the British. Our strength is the patience. Our strength is this mob, masses is the strength of India. And he wanted to conquer, he wanted to defeat the British government not through the weapons which was used by the mighty conquerors like Napoleon Bonaparte or Alexander the Great, but he wanted to win over the enemy through the moral strength that Indians could possess. So during the time of the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, etc., he has of course experimented these non-violent struggles. So at the time of the starting of the non-cooperation movement, so many Indian political leaders were doubtful whether this technique of struggle is of course fruitful for the Indians or successful as far as the Indian National Congress was concerned. But Gandhi was very, very particular that these are all very, very powerful, and as well as he was of course fully confident that the Indian people who were the masses of Indians who would be of course behind him in the struggles that he may start in India. But political leaders like Motilal Nehru, Hakim Ashmal Khan, C.R. Das, Subhash Chandra Bose, and they were of course argued that the Indians would not be along with Gandhi during the time of the non-cooperation movement through a non-violent struggle, because 90% of the Indians were illiterate people. They will take up arms, they would become violent at any point of time, and it would not be fruitful or practical for starting a struggle based on non-violent means. But Gandhi was very particular that he will succeed. But at the end, during the time of the non-cooperation movement, he could of course very easily convince the people and the masses And he led the movement through non-violent means till the famous Chauri Chaura incident happened, in which the people took up arms. They fired a police station and they killed 22 policemen. And thereupon Gandhi realized that he could not continue this struggle through the non-violent means. That is why he cancelled the non-cooperation movement. So Ahimsa principle was, of course, the core philosophy he has, of course, used as a part of his struggle. And another notable method Gandhiji has introduced was the non-cooperation. Gandhi wanted to non-cooperate with the government when the government is not ready to accept the feelings of the people of India. When hearing that, realizing that British government has done these crimes against the Indian people through the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, he has, of course, he has cancelled or surrendered the title which has been given to him, Kaisar-i-Hind, the title which has been given to him by the British government when he made a famous services to the British government during the time of the Boer War and the Zulu revolt. That title has been cancelled and has been withdrawn by him. And he declared that he will not cooperate with the British anymore. And as a part of this non-cooperation movement, he declared that all the Indians should, of course, boycott. The Indian students should boycott their education institutions. The lawyers should boycott these courts, and they must boycott the titles and honors given by the British government, and they must this boycott everything which was foreign. Even the cloth and other materials which was, of course, foreign made, these products should be boycotted. So non-cooperation was, of course, a method that he has introduced against the British government. Another notable struggle, that this method of struggle, was civil disobedience. So when the British government, they introduced so many brutal reforms and unpopular taxation, etc., he wanted to disobey the laws passed by the British government. The best example was the Salt Satyagraha, which he has, of course, led. A struggle, a march, the historic Dandi march, which he has done along with his 78 followers, selected followers. Even 4 persons from Kerala also participated. Raghavanji, Trishji, Krishna Nair and C. Shankaran Nair. And he wanted to disobey the laws of the British government when a tax was imposed by the British government against the salt. Gandhi very fully realized from his experience that a struggle, if it wants to be a popular struggle, must be supported by the people, masses. If we wanted to make a movement a success, the method of struggle and as well as the reason for the struggle would be, of course, so much related to the people. That is why he wanted to take the salt issue as an important issue for the civil disobedience movement. He realized that salt was the only relish which the common people of India, common people, as of course, used as their monotonous diet. Next to the water and air, it is the most important necessity in life. So he wanted to make the common salt as the gunpowder of Indian national freedom struggle. Along with his 78 followers, he reached Dandi and manufactured salt, took a bundle of salt and put it in a pit, and after holding it, he declared that with this salt I am shaking the foundations of the British Empire. So this struggle became very popular in India, and various coastal centers of India became that experienced the salt satyagrahas and salt marches. Another important struggle method of struggle he has adopted was the propagation of Swadeshi products and as well as boycott of foreign goods. He taught the people of India that the British came to India not for serving the people of India, but for exploiting the people of India. So if we popularize and propagate the products of the Britishers in India, they will of course continue their rule in India. But on the other hand, if we are not interested in their products and we will rely on our own products, they would be forced to flee from India. And with this aim, he has introduced charka, khadi, and other native products. And he has succeeded in uniting India with khadi and charka. He has popularized the idea of Sarvodaya, or the self-governing institutions in India, and self-sufficient village industries in India. He was against massive production of industries, but he taught the people of India that nature has given us enough to feed, to satisfy the needs of the people, not to satisfy the greeds of the people. So we should limit our needs. We should bother about the welfare of our fellow beings as well. So through the cooperation of Indians, by boycotting all the foreign products and by popularizing the Swadeshi goods, we could succeed, we could win in the ultimate struggle that we start against the foreign yoke. That was the method which he has adopted. And another important attitude of Gandhi was the establishment of creation of a mass base for the popular struggle in India. He believed in the power of the people, power of the masses. As a mass leader, Gandhi could never be surpassed. He taught his followers that if we want to see the real India, we have to go to the Indian villages where the soul of India rests. It was in the villages we could see the real life in India. We must get the support of the whole people of India, whole masses of India, including the children, including the women folk, including the aged people. There is no disparity between the caste and race, sex, and any other, without any other consideration. Indian struggle should be a mass-based struggle. It is only with the emergence of Gandhi that the Indian national freedom struggle became a mass movement. And he also wanted to give a spiritual color to the Indian freedom struggle. And he wanted to give a religious color to the Indian freedom struggle as well. Realizing that the Indian people were so much related to their religion, he wanted to give a spiritual color to the Indian national freedom struggle. It was with this purpose that he has, of course, started Satyagraha ashrams. Ashrams like a Phoenix ashram, Tolstoy farm, Vartha ashram, Sabarmati ashram, etc. So there were, of course, at times in which there were some criticisms that has been leveled against Gandhi by persons like leaders like Subhash Chandra Bose. Once he has claimed that he has opposed Gandhi and by saying that why should we rely on these ashrama systems? India is a holy land where we have countless number of ashrams. We have countless number of rishis. And why should a political leader should come and start ashrams for starting political propaganda? There must not be a room for philanthropy in politics. And criticizing the Gandhian principle of self-governing village industries and popularization of this cottage industries, charka and khadi, there were criticisms that we should not believe we should not go to the age of bullock carts. We must look and open our eyes towards the industrial revolution and the enormous changes that has been happening in our world. Such kind of criticisms were there leveled against Gandhi. But even then, he stood firm. Gandhi stood firm in his principles. Principles of nonviolence, principles of Satyagraha, principles of non-cooperation, principles of civil disobedience, and giving a mass base to the Indian national freedom struggle. And at times, along with this political movement, which he has of course introduced, he also gave more importance, equal importance, of course more importance to some of the constructive programs like anti-untouchability programs in India, introduction of popularizing the Hindu-Muslim harmony, and movements against toddy shops, picketing of toddy shops, and movement against caste discrimination, movement against racial discrimination, etc. So if we examine the struggles that Gandhi has started in India, between two different major struggles, he has given a gap. And during the time of this gap, he has engaged in constructive programs. For example, between the non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement, or between the civil disobedience movement and the Quit India movement, he has engaged, spent his time in constructive programs. So the flow of the struggle of Gandhi in India was struggle, then truce or peace or constructive programs, then again struggle. So during this period of truce, he got enough strength and capacity, moral capacity, to prepare himself and his men and his countrymen for another major struggle. So these are the experimentations of methods of struggle that he has made both in South Africa and India. And it was these struggles that gave us ultimate victory in our freedom struggle. So this is about the major methods of struggle that Gandhi has adopted both in South Africa as well as in India. Thank you. Thank you very much.